I didn't plan to text 4 billionaire alphas. I only wanted Minjae to stop crying. It was past midnight in my cramped Hongdae studio, the kind of cold, hollow hour where even Seoul outside seemed to hold its breath. I sat on the kitchen floor, legs pulled to my chest, a threadbare baby blanket wrapped around my shoulders. The lights were off, not because I wanted it dark, but because the power company didn't do sympathy extensions for broke 23-year-old Omegas raising pups alone. Minjae cried from the bedroom. His bottle had been mostly water tonight. I tried not to look at the empty formula can on the counter. My chest ached, not from milk production I'd dried up months ago, but from shame so thick I could taste it. I picked up my phone with shaky hands, thumb hovering over my brother's contact. Jihoon had helped before. Not happily, but he had. I didn't want to ask again, but tonight wasn't about pride. It was about a 6-month-old pup who didn't understand why his stomach hurt. I typed, Jihoon, I'm sorry to bother you again. I need $60,000 for formula. Minjae's almost out. I get paid Friday. I'll pay you back. Please. My thumb trembled as I hit send. I didn't double-check the number. I didn't even look at the name. I just set the phone down, dropped my forehead to my knees and waited. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. I think you meant to send that to someone else. I blinked, sat up, grabbed the phone and stared in horror. Unknown number, one wrong digit. My stomach dropped. I'm so sorry, I typed fast. Please ignore. Wrong number. I locked the screen, tossed the phone aside, pulled the blanket tighter. Another failure added to the pile. Somewhere across Seoul, in a penthouse that overlooked half the city, 4 men sat around a glass table reviewing quarterly reports. Min Ye-jun, CEO of Crescent Dynamics, stared at the message on his private phone. He never gave this number out. No press, no assistants, only family. And that list had gotten shorter every year. The text wasn't spam. It wasn't a scam. It was raw, real. Minjae's almost out. I get paid Friday. It wasn't just a request. It was someone negotiating with their own dignity. He should have ignored it. Most nights he would have. Instead, he read it aloud. What kind of person asks a stranger for diaper money? Kang Seojin, CFO, raised an eyebrow from across the table. The desperate kind, replied Choi Ha-jun, head of security. His voice was flat, but his jaw tightened. Park Dowan, the quietest of the 4 and their lead strategist, looked up from his tablet. Or the honest kind, Ye-jun typed back. Is your baby going to be okay? I stared at the message. What kind of stranger follows up like that? My first instinct was to block him, but something about the question, how simply it was asked, made me pause. We'll manage on, I wrote. Sorry again. I can help, no strings. I scoffed aloud. Right, sure. Thanks, but I don't take money from strangers. Smart policy. I'm Ye-jun. Now I'm not a stranger. I didn't reply. I rocked Minjae back to sleep. I cried quietly, the kind of grief that doesn't come from just being broke, but from being tired of being broke. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I sent him my bank account info. 3 seconds later, my phone buzzed. $6,000 received from Min Ye-jun. I sat frozen. I blinked twice. Opened the app. Checked again. 6 million won. This is too much, I typed, hands shaking. I only needed $60,000. It's already yours, no catch. One less thing to worry about. I didn't cry when I got fired. I didn't cry when they repossessed my scooter. I didn't cry when Minjae's father ghosted me after finding out I was pregnant. But this broke me. Thank you. I don't even know what to say. You don't have to say anything, just take care of Minjae. And then I noticed it. I never told him my son's name. My stomach twisted. I stared at the screen, heartbeat loud in my ears. Before I could type anything, another message came through. Sorry, we're all reading this thread. Didn't mean to be creepy. You mentioned his name in your first message. We? There are 4 of us, Ye-jun continued. We share this line for business. But don't worry. Your message stays between us. 4 alphas, 4 billionaires. And I just accidentally texted all of them, begging for diaper money. I wanted to crawl into a hole and die, but Minjae was finally asleep, his tiny fist curled around my thumb, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was drowning. I looked at my phone one last time. "Thank you," I typed. "All of you." The reply came instantly. "Sleep well, Omega. Tomorrow we'd like to meet you." My breath caught, and despite every logical part of my brain screaming at me to run, I typed back one word. "Okay." My pulse stuttered. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. "Tomorrow we'd like to meet you." I set the phone down slowly, like it might explode if I moved too fast. My hands were still shaking. Minja's breathing had finally evened out, soft and rhythmic against my chest. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt like I'd just agreed to walk into a trap I couldn't even see yet. What kind of person agrees to meet four strange alphas? The desperate kind, apparently. I carried Minjay back to his crib, tucking the blanket around his tiny body. He didn't stir. For a 6-month-old, he had the survival instincts of a rock. I envied that. The ability to just trust that someone would catch you when you fell. I hadn't trusted anyone in a long time. I walked back to the kitchen, grabbed my phone, and opened the banking app again. The number was still there. 6,000,001. Real, untouched. Mine. I could pay rent for 4 months, buy formula for half a year, fix the stupid heating that only worked when it felt like it. Maybe even get Minjay actual clothes instead of the hand-me-downs from the donation center that smelled like someone else's laundry detergent. But nothing was free. I'd learned that the hard way. My phone buzzed again. I flinched so hard I almost dropped it. "Still awake?" It was from the same number. Yi Jun, I assumed. Or maybe one of the others. I didn't even know their names. "Yeah," I typed back. "Hard to sleep after that." "Understandable. Can I ask you something?" I hesitated. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. "Go ahead. What do you need most right now, besides money?" I laughed. It came out bitter, almost mean. What did I need? A time machine. A different life. A universe where I didn't get pregnant at 22 by an alpha who promised me forever and disappeared the second he saw the test. But I didn't type that. Honestly, sleep. There was a pause. Longer than before. I wondered if I'd said the wrong thing. If this was the part where they realized I wasn't worth the investment and ghosted me like everyone else. Then, "We'll let you rest. But tomorrow, 11 a.m., there's a cafe in Itaewon, Lucid Brew. We'll cover everything. Just show up." What if I don't? Another pause. "Then we'll respect that. But we hope you do." I bit my lip. My brain was screaming at me to say no. To block the number. To take the money and run before this turned into something I couldn't control. But my mouth was faster than my brain. "I'll be there." "Good. Sleep well. Omega." I locked my phone and pressed it against my forehead. What the hell was I doing? I didn't sleep. Not really. I dozed in 20-minute intervals, jerking awake every time Minjay shifted, or the neighbor's dog barked, or a car alarm went off 3 blocks away. By the time pale gray light started creeping through the blinds, I felt like I'd been awake for a week. Minjay woke up at 6, babbling nonsense and grabbing at my hair like it personally offended him. I made him a bottle, this time with actual formula, the expensive kind I'd bought online at 4 a.m., using a fraction of the money they'd sent, and watched him drink it with the focus of a tiny tyrant. "You're lucky you're cute," I muttered. He grinned at me, formula dripping down his chin. I showered for the first time in 3 days. The water was cold, but I didn't care. I scrubbed my skin until it hurt, washed my hair twice, and stood under the spray until my fingers pruned. When I got out, I stared at myself in the fogged-up mirror. I looked tired, scared, young. I hated it. I pulled on the only clean clothes I had left, black jeans that were a little too tight and a gray sweater that used to belong to Jihoon. It smelled like cigarettes and regret, but it was warm. I ran my fingers through my damp hair and called it good enough. Minji went into his carrier without a fight, which I took as a sign from the universe that maybe today wouldn't be a complete disaster. Maybe. The subway was packed. I kept my head down, one hand on Minjay's carrier, the other gripping the pole so hard my knuckles went white. An older beta woman smiled at Minjay. A businessman pretended I didn't exist. Normal. By the time I got off at Itaewon Station, my stomach was doing backflips. Lucid Brew wasn't hard to find. It was tucked between a vintage clothing shop and a bookstore, all glass walls and minimalist furniture. The kind of place that charged W 8,000 for an Americano and made you feel poor just for walking in. I stood outside for a full minute, staring at my reflection in the window. You can still leave, but I didn't. I pushed the door open. A soft chime rang overhead. The smell of espresso hit me first, rich and bitter. The interior was almost empty, just a couple in the corner and a guy on his laptop near the window. And then I saw them. 4 men, sitting at a table near the back. They looked up at the same time, and everything in me went still. They weren't just handsome. They were the kind of handsome that made you forget how to breathe. The kind that belonged on billboards, not sitting in a quiet cafe in Itaewon on a Tuesday morning. The one closest to me stood first, tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp cheekbones and eyes so dark they looked black. His suit was perfectly tailored, charcoal gray, no tie. He moved like he owned the room. "You came," he said. His voice was deep, steady, calm. I tightened my grip on Minja's carrier. "Yeah, well, 6 million buys a lot of guilt." His mouth twitched, almost a smile. "I'm Yi Jun. We spoke last night." "Right. CEO, Crescent Dynamics." I'd Googled him at 5 a.m. while Minja was napping. Net worth in the billions. Forbes 30 under 30. Orphaned at 16 and built an empire by 25. He gestured to the others. "This is Seojin, Hajun, and Dowon." Seojin was next. Slimmer than Yejun, but just as sharp, with silver-rimmed glasses and a smile that looked expensive. He wore a black turtleneck and watched me like I was a puzzle he was already halfway through solving. "CFO," he said, extending a hand. "Nice to meet you properly." I shook it. His grip was firm but not aggressive. "Professional?" Hajun didn't stand. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, dressed all in black like he'd just walked off a movie set. Head of security, I remembered. He had a scar along his jaw and the kind of eyes that missed nothing. "You're braver than I expected," he said. "Or dumber," I shot back. He smirked. Dowan was the last, quiet, almost invisible next to the others. But something about him made my skin prickle. He had soft features, messy black hair, and hands that drummed lightly against the table like he was always thinking 3 steps ahead. "Lead strategist," he said without looking up. "You didn't bring a bag." I blinked. "What?" "No diaper bag, no extra clothes. You're either very confident or very inexperienced." I felt my face heat. "I have a diaper in my pocket and a bottle in the carrier. We'll survive an hour." His eyes finally met mine. They were amber, unnerving. "Good," he said simply. Yejun pulled out a chair. "Sit, please." I did, mostly because my legs were shaking and I didn't trust them anymore. I set Minja's carrier on the chair next to me. He was still asleep, tiny fist curled near his mouth. Seojin slid a menu across the table. "Order whatever you want." I stared at it. Everything was in English and Korean. Everything was overpriced. "I'm fine, I said. "You haven't eaten today," Doan said. I shot him a look. "How would you know that?" "You're pale, your hands are shaking, and you've been chewing the inside of your cheek since you walked in." I stopped chewing my cheek. Hajun leaned forward. "He's annoying, but he's usually right." "Eat." I ordered an Americano and a croissant. Not because I wanted to, but because refusing felt like losing. Yejun folded his hands on the table. "We're not here to interrogate you." "Could have fooled me," I muttered. Seojin laughed, quiet, surprised. "He's got bite." "Good," Hajun said. "I don't trust omegas who roll over." I raised an eyebrow. "And I don't trust alphas who think they can buy people with wire transfers." Silence. Then Yejun smiled. Actually smiled. It softened his whole face. "Fair," he said. The barista brought my order. I wrapped my hands around the cup, letting the heat sink into my palms. I didn't drink it yet. I just needed something to hold. "Why did you send so much?" I asked. "Because 60,000 won wasn't going to fix anything," Yejun said. "Just delay it." "And you care because—" "Because we've all been there," Doan said quietly. "Maybe not exactly there, but close enough." I looked at him, at all of them. They didn't look like people who'd ever struggled, but something in Dowan's voice made me believe him anyway. So what now? I asked. You pay off my debt and I owe you my firstborn? Oh, wait, you've already met him. Minji chose that exact moment to wake up. He blinked, yawned, and immediately started fussing. I pulled him out of the carrier, balancing him on my lap. He grabbed at my sweater, squirming. How old? Seojin asked. 6 months. Father? Gone. Hajun's jaw tightened. Yejun's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. We're not here to judge you. Then why are you here? Because, Yejun said slowly, we'd like to help. Long term. I laughed. It sounded harsh even to me. Nobody helps for free. You're right, Doan said. So let's be honest. We're interested in you. My stomach dropped. Excuse me? Not like that, Seojin said quickly. Well, not only like that. Hajun shot him a look. Yejun sighed. What they're trying to say is that we've been looking for someone. An Omega. Someone we can trust. Someone who isn't interested in our money or our status. And you think that's me? I said flatly. The guy who literally texted you begging for cash? You didn't beg, Yejun said. You asked your brother. We were an accident. An accident that worked out, Doan added. I stared at them. All four of them. This was insane. I need to think, I said. Take your time, Yejun replied. But while you do, let us help. No strings. Just let us make your life easier. And if you decide you want nothing to do with us after that, we'll respect it. I looked down at Minjae. He was staring up at me with wide, curious eyes. I thought about my empty fridge, my overdue rent, the way I'd been holding my breath for 6 months straight. Okay, I whispered. Yejun's smile was soft, genuine. Okay, if you're loving this story so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Things are about to get real interesting. The word hung in the air between us. I felt the weight of it immediately, like I'd just signed something I hadn't read all the way through. Seojin leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled beneath his chin. Good. Then let's start simple. Define simple, I said, shifting Minjae higher on my lap. He was getting squirmy, grabbing at the edge of the table. Your rent, Yejun said. When's it due? I froze. That's not simple. That's invasive. It's practical, Doan corrected. He still hadn't touched his coffee. Just watched me with those unnerving amber eyes. You're 3 weeks late. Your landlord sent 2 notices. You've been dodging his calls. My blood went cold. How the hell do you know that? I'm a strategist, Doan said calmly. I strategize. That includes research. That includes stalking, I snapped. Hajun snorted. He's thorough, not creepy. There's a difference. Debatable, I muttered. Yejun held up a hand. We're not trying to corner you, but if we're going to help, we need to know what we're working with. Working with, I repeated slowly. You make it sound like a business deal. Isn't it? Seojin asked, tilting his head. You need resources. We have them. You need stability. We can provide it. In exchange, you give us your time, your trust, and eventually, if this works, something more. I stared at him. Something more. A bond, Yejun said quietly. The cafe suddenly felt too small, too warm. I could hear the espresso machine hissing behind the counter, the low murmur of the couple in the corner. Minjae's soft breathing against my chest. You're insane, I said. Probably, Hajun agreed. You don't even know me. Not yet, Doan said. But we'd like to. I laughed. It came out sharp, almost mean. You want to bond with someone you met 20 minutes ago because I accidentally texted you asking for diaper money? Do you hear yourselves? We've done stranger things, Seojin said lightly. Name one. Bought a company in Budapest because Doan had a hunch, Hajun said. Turned a profit in 6 months, Doan added. I shook my head. This isn't a company. This is my life. Minjae's life. We know, Yejun said. His voice dropped, softer now. And we're not asking you to decide anything today. We're just asking you to let us in, slowly, one step at a time. I looked down at Minji. He'd grabbed my finger and was trying to shove it in his mouth, drool everywhere. Completely oblivious to the 4 alphas currently trying to upend my entire existence. What's the first step? I asked. Lunch, Seojin said. I blinked. What? You're still hungry. So is the pup. Let's go somewhere quieter. Somewhere you can actually relax. I don't relax. We noticed, Hajun said dryly. Yejun stood, pulling his coat from the back of his chair. There's a place nearby. Private. Good food. Minja-friendly. You planned this, I said. We hoped, Doan corrected. I wanted to say no. I wanted to grab Minjay, walk out and pretend this whole morning never happened. But my stomach growled, and Minjay chose that exact moment to let out a piercing wail. Fine, I said, standing, but I'm not making any promises. Noted, Yejun said, and I hated how warm his smile was. The restaurant was 10 minutes away by car. Yejun's car, specifically. A sleek black sedan that probably cost more than I'd earn in 5 years. Hajun drove. Seojin sat up front. Doan, Yejun, and I squeezed into the back with Minjay's carrier between us. It was the most awkward car ride of my life. Does he always cry like that? Doan asked, wincing as Minjay hit a particularly impressive note. Only when he's hungry, tired, or awake, I said. Hajun glanced at me in the rearview mirror. So, always. Pretty much. Seojin turned around, peering at Minjay. Can I hold him? I hesitated. I have 3 younger cousins, he added. I know what I'm doing. I handed Minjay over. Watched Seojin settle him against his chest, one hand supporting his head, the other rubbing slow circles on his back. Minjay stopped crying. Just stopped. Are you kidding me? I said. Seojin grinned. I'm very good with my hands. Hajun choked on air. Yejun closed his eyes. Doan sighed. That came out wrong, Seojin said, but he didn't look remotely sorry. The restaurant was small, tucked down a side street in Hanamdong. Traditional Korean, but modern, all warm wood and soft lighting. A private room in the back, already reserved. We sat on floor cushions around a low table. Minjay, now calm and weirdly content in Seojin's arms, watched everything with wide eyes. The food came fast. Too fast. Banchan, galbi, soup, rice, more side dishes than I could count. I can't afford this, I said. You're not paying, Yejun replied. That's the problem. Then consider it an investment, Doan said, picking up his chopsticks. In your future goodwill. I stared at him. You're the worst. I get that a lot. I ate. I couldn't help it. The food was too good, and I hadn't had a real meal in weeks. I tried to pace myself, but halfway through I realized I'd cleared my plate and started eyeing the galbi. Hajun slid the plate closer to me without a word. I looked up. He wasn't smiling, but something in his expression had softened. Eat, he said. So I did. By the time we finished, Minjay had fallen asleep again, this time in Yejun's arms. He held him like it was the most natural thing in the world, one hand cradling his head, the other resting lightly on his back. It did something to my chest, something dangerous. We want to take care of you, Yejun said quietly. Both of you. I swallowed hard. Why? Because you deserve it, Doan said. Because you didn't ask for it, Hajun added. Because you're interesting, Seojin finished with a grin. I looked at all of them, these 4 strangers who'd somehow become the most important people in my life in the span of 2 hours. I don't trust easy, I said. Good, Yejun replied. Neither do we. And I don't do charity. This isn't charity, Doan said. This is us being selfish. I raised an eyebrow. How is helping me selfish? Yejun's eyes met mine. Dark, steady, honest. Because we've been looking for you for a very long time. My breath caught. The words settled into my chest like stones. That's a weird thing to say to someone you just met, I said, but my voice came out quieter than I wanted. Yejun didn't look away. Is it? Or is it just honest? I didn't have an answer for that. Seojin leaned forward, elbows on the table. Have you ever felt like you were waiting for something? Like your life was on pause and you didn't know why? Every day for the last 6 months, I said flatly. Longer than that, Doan said, watching me too closely. You felt it longer than that. I opened my mouth to argue, then stopped. Because he was right. I'd felt it since I was a kid. That strange, low-frequency hum in the back of my mind. Like static. Like waiting for a phone call that never came. I used to think everyone felt it. Then I realized they didn't. How do you know that? I asked slowly. Doan tilted his head. Because we feel it too. The air in the room shifted, thicker, warmer. I could smell them now. Really smell them. Yejun's scent hit first, clean and sharp like frost on glass. Then Seojin, something warmer, like leather and black coffee. Hajun smelled like smoke and cedar, and Doan faint and strange like ozone before a storm. I pressed my back against the cushion. You're scenting me. No, Hajun said. You're scenting us. I froze. He was right. I hadn't even realized I was doing it. My body had leaned forward without permission, breathing them in like I was starving for it. I sat back hard. Stop. We're not doing anything, Yejun said gently. Then why does it feel like you are? Because you're feeling the pull, Seojin said softly. Same as us. I shook my head. No, that's not possible. I don't even know you. Your body doesn't care, Doan said. I hated how calm he sounded, like this was normal, like I wasn't currently unraveling in the middle of a restaurant while holding a sleeping baby. This is insane, I whispered. It is, Yejun agreed. But that doesn't make it less real. I looked down at Minjae. He was still sound asleep in Yejun's arms, completely unbothered. His tiny hand had curled around Yejun's finger. Something twisted in my chest. I need air, I said suddenly, standing. Wait, Hajun started, but I was already moving. I grabbed Minjae from Yejun's arms, maybe a little too fast, and headed for the door. My hands were shaking. My scent was spiking. I could feel it, sharp and bitter, the kind that made alphas turn their heads. I made it outside. The cold air hit my face like a slap. I leaned against the wall, clutching Minjae to my chest, and tried to remember how to breathe. Footsteps behind me. Slow. Careful. Go away, I said without turning around. Can't do that. Hajun. I glanced over my shoulder. He stood a few feet back, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. You're crowding me, I said. I'm 5 feet away. Metaphorically, his mouth twitched, almost a smile. You always this dramatic? You always this annoying? Usually worse. Despite everything, I laughed. It surprised both of us. Hajun stepped closer. Not too close, just enough that I could see his face properly, the scar along his jaw, the way his eyes softened when he looked at Minjae. You're scared, he said. No shit. Good, you should be. This is terrifying. I blinked. You're supposed to tell me it's going to be fine. I don't lie. Great, very comforting. He leaned against the wall next to me, close enough now that I could feel the heat coming off him. You feel it though, don't you? The pull. I didn't answer. It's okay if you do, he continued. It doesn't mean you have to act on it. It just means your instincts are working. My instincts suck, I muttered. They got you this far. I looked at him. Really looked. He wasn't smiling, wasn't trying to charm me or convince me of anything. He was just there, steady. What if I can't do this? I asked quietly. Then you can't, and we'll deal with it. Just like that? Just like that. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to, but I'd been burned too many times. I need to tell you something, I said before I could stop myself. Hajun's gaze sharpened. Okay, I took a breath. I'm not just an omega, I'm a broken one. His brow furrowed. What do you mean? I mean I see things, I said, the words tumbling out too fast. Not all the time, not on purpose, but sometimes I'll touch someone and I'll see their future. Or their past, or something that hasn't happened yet but will. I waited for him to laugh, to back away, to call me crazy. He didn't. Precognition, he said. I stared. You know what that is? Dowan has it too. Not as strong, but enough. My heart stopped. What? He sees patterns, probabilities, outcomes before they happen. It's why he's so good at his job. I couldn't breathe. I thought I was the only one. You're not, Hajun said simply. You've never been. Something cracked open in my chest. Relief. Terror. I didn't know which. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered. We just met you 4 hours ago. Fair point. I looked down at Minjae. He was stirring now, little face scrunching up. What if I see something bad, I asked. About you, or them, or us? Then we'll handle it, Hajun said. Together. You don't even know me. Not yet, he agreed. But I want to. Before I could respond, the door opened. Yijun stepped out, followed by Seojin and Doan. Everything okay? Yijun asked, eyes moving between us. Fine, I said quickly. Just needed a minute. Doan's gaze locked on mine. You told him. It wasn't a question. I nodded slowly. Good, Doan said. Now tell us. I looked at all four of them, standing there, waiting, not judging, not running, just waiting. So I did. I told them everything. About the first time it happened when I was 7, touched my teacher's hand and saw her crying in a hospital room 3 weeks before it happened. About how I learned to wear gloves in middle school because shaking hands became a gamble. About the ex-boyfriend who called me a freak when I accidentally saw him cheating on me 2 months before he actually did it. About how I saw Minjae's father leaving. Saw it a week before the pregnancy test. Knew he'd run and still hoped I was wrong. I wasn't. By the time I finished, my throat was raw. Minjae was fussing in my arms, hungry again. I bounced him absently, not meeting anyone's eyes. The silence stretched. Then Seojin laughed. Not mean, just surprised. Delighted almost. You're incredible, he said. I looked up sharply. I'm a freak. You're powerful, Yijun corrected. Same thing. Not even close, Doan said. He stepped forward, hands in his pockets. I've spent my whole life hiding what I can do, pretending the patterns I see are just good guesses. You stopped hiding. I didn't have a choice, I said bitterly. People noticed. And you survived anyway, Hajun said. That takes guts. I wanted to argue, to tell them they were wrong, that I wasn't brave or powerful or anything worth keeping. But the way they were looking at me made the words stick in my throat. Can you control it? Yijun asked carefully. Sometimes, I admitted. If I'm calm, if I focus. But when I'm stressed or scared or... I gestured vaguely at all of them. Overwhelmed, it just happens. Have you seen anything about us? Seojin asked. I hesitated. It's okay, he added quickly. You can tell us. I looked at Doan. You're going to get a call in 3 days. Bad news. Something about your mother. His face went carefully blank. What kind of bad news? I don't know. It cuts off. But you'll be in your office. Alone? And you'll break something. Doan's jaw tightened. He nodded once. Okay, thank you. I turned to Seojin. You're hiding something. Financial. It's not illegal, but it's close. And it's going to blow up in 2 weeks if you don't fix it. Seojin's smile faded. How did you... I saw spreadsheets, red numbers, your hands shaking while you deleted emails. He exhaled slowly. I'll handle it. Hajun crossed his arms. What about me? I met his eyes. You're going to save someone's life. Soon. I don't know who, but you'll get hurt doing it. Something flickered across his face. Not fear, acceptance. Noted, he said quietly. Finally, I looked at Yijun. He waited, patient, steady. You're going to kiss me, I said. The words fell out before I could stop them. Yijun's eyebrows rose. Am I? In a car, at night. You'll ask first. I'll say yes. His expression softened. Good to know. My face burned. I didn't mean to see that. I'm not complaining. Seojin grinned. Neither am I. This is the best investment we've ever made. I groaned. I'm not an investment. No, Yijun said, stepping closer. Your family. The word hit me like a truck. Family. I didn't have that. Not really. Jihoon tolerated me on good days. My parents stopped calling after I presented as Omega. Friends disappeared when I got pregnant. I'd been alone so long I forgot what it felt like to be anything else. You don't mean that, I whispered. I don't say things I don't mean, Yijun replied. Minjae chose that moment to let out an ear-splitting wail. Hajun winced. Is he okay? He's hungry, I said, already reaching for the bottle in my pocket, and probably needs changed, and definitely tired of being held by a walking disaster. You're not a disaster, Doan said. I texted 4 billionaires begging for diaper money. I'm the definition of disaster. You texted us by accident, Seojin corrected. Big difference. I gave Minjae the bottle. He latched on immediately, greedy little monster. Come back inside, Yijun said gently. It's cold out here. I wanted to argue, but he was right. It was freezing, and Minjae's hands were getting cold. We went back into the private room. I sat on the floor cushion, Minjae in my lap, while he finished his bottle. The four of them settled around the table like nothing weird had just happened. Like I hadn't just admitted to being a psychic freak. Like they didn't care. So what now, I asked. Now, Yijun said, we make a plan. What kind of plan? The kind where you're not struggling alone anymore, Seojin said. Hajun leaned forward. We want to help, properly, not just throwing money at you and hoping it sticks. What does that mean? I asked warily. It means, Doan said, we want you to move in with us. I choked on air. Excuse me. We have space, Yijun said calmly. More than we need. A whole floor, actually. Private. Safe. Minjae would have his own room. You'd have yours on no strings, just security. You're insane, I said. We've established that, Seojin replied cheerfully. I'm not moving in with four strangers. Then get to know us first, Hajun said. Take your time, but let us help in the meantime. Let us pay your rent, get you groceries, fix whatever needs fixing in your apartment. I don't need charity. It's not charity, Yijun said. It's courting. My heart stopped. Courting, I repeated. Yes, you're courting me. All of us are, Doan clarified. I stared at them, one by one. They stared back. Completely serious. You're all insane, I said finally. Probably, Yijun agreed, but we're also patient and persistent and very, very interested. I looked down at Minjae. He'd finished his bottle and was already dozing off again, milk-drunk and content. I thought about my apartment, the broken heating, the overdue rent, the landlord's increasingly angry voicemails. I thought about being alone, and then I thought about not being alone. Okay, I whispered. Yijun smiled. Slow, warm, devastating. Okay, this is getting good, right? If you're hooked, smash that subscribe button because trust me, you're going to want to see how this ends. The best parts are still coming. The word hung between us for a heartbeat. Then Seojin's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, frowned, and stood. I need to take this. 2 minutes. He stepped out of the room. Hajun's phone buzzed next. Then Do-won's. Then Yi-jun's. All at once. The air shifted. I felt it in my gut. That familiar electric hum that crawled up my spine right before something bad happened. What's going on? I asked. Yi-jun's face had gone carefully blank. The kind of blank that meant he was 3 steps ahead of whatever crisis was unfolding. We need to go, he said quietly. Now. Go where? The office. There's a situation. Hajun was already moving, grabbing his coat. Seojin's numbers just tanked. Someone leaked the audit report early. My stomach dropped. The one I saw? The red numbers? Dawen's eyes met mine. Sharp, unflinching. You saw this happening. I saw him stressed, I said quickly. I didn't see corporate espionage. Same outcome, Doan muttered, fingers flying across his phone screen. Yijun stood, buttoning his coat with precise, controlled movements. We'll drop you home first. Like hell you will, I said. He paused. This isn't your problem. You just spent the last hour telling me I'm family. You don't get to shut me out the second things get messy. Hajun looked at Yijun. Something passed between them. A whole conversation in a single glance. He's right, Hajun said. He has a baby, Yijun countered. I'm standing right here, I snapped, and I'm coming with you. Yijun's jaw tightened. Then, slowly he nodded. Fine, but you stay close. Wasn't planning on wandering off. We left the restaurant in a blur. Hajun drove faster this time, weaving through Seoul traffic like he was playing a video game. Seojin was on his phone the entire ride. Voice clipped and professional, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. Dowan sat next to me, staring at his tablet. Numbers scrolled across the screen too fast for me to follow. How bad? I asked quietly. Bad enough that someone wanted to destroy us, he said without looking up. The leak was timed, calculated. This wasn't an accident. Who would do that? Someone with access, Yijun said from the front seat. Someone we trusted. The word landed heavy. Minjae stirred in my arms, fussing. I shifted him, pressing my cheek against his soft hair. He smelled like baby lotion and safety, the only constant in a world that kept trying to knock me sideways. We pulled up to a building in Gangnam, all glass and steel, the kind that screamed money and power. Crescent Dynamics was etched into the stone above the entrance. Hee-jun parked in a private garage. We took an elevator that required a key card. The doors opened directly into a massive office space, floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture, everything sleek and expensive and cold. A woman in a sharp blazer intercepted us immediately. "Sir, the board is waiting," she said to Yijun. "They want answers." "They'll get them," Yijun replied. "Set up the war room. I want everyone who touched that report in the building in 20 minutes. She nodded and disappeared. Seojin ran a hand through his hair, messing it up for the first time since I'd met him. "This is my fault. I should have locked it down tighter." "You followed protocol," Doan said. "Someone bypassed it." "Who has that kind of access?" I asked. All four of them looked at each other. "Only us," Hajun said slowly. "And one other person." "Who?" I pressed. Yijun's expression darkened. "Our former partner, Kang Minho." The name hit the air like a curse. "Former?" I repeated. "We forced him out 6 months ago," Seojin said. "Caught him embezzling. He swore he'd bury us." "Looks like he's trying," Doan muttered. My skin prickled. That familiar hum again, louder now. I closed my eyes just for a second and let the vision come. A man, late 30s, expensive suit, standing in a boardroom with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "He's here," I said. They all turned to me. "What?" Yijun asked. "Minho. He's in the building. Right now. Top floor." Hajun's hand went to his phone. "Security hasn't flagged anyone." "He's using someone else's access," I said, the vision sharpening. "A woman, dark hair. She doesn't know he's using her card." Doan swore under his breath. "Ji-yun, my assistant." He was already moving. We all were. The elevator ride to the top floor felt like it took hours. Minji was crying now, full volume, but I couldn't focus on him. My heart was pounding too hard. The doors opened, and there he was. Kang Minho stood in the center of the boardroom, hands in his pockets, smiling like he owned the place. "Gentlemen," he said smoothly, "and guest, how unexpected." Yijun stepped forward, placing himself between Minho and me. "You're trespassing." "Am I?" Minho tilted his head. "I'm a shareholder. I have every right to be here." "You sold your shares," Seojin said coldly. "Did I? Or did I transfer them to a shell company you haven't found yet?" Silence. Minho's smile widened. "You always were too trusting, Yijun. It's your fatal flaw." "What do you want?" Hajun asked, voice dangerously quiet. "What I've always wanted. Control. You four think you're untouchable. But you're not. You're emotional, weak, distracted." His eyes slid to me, especially now. Something cold slithered down my spine. "You leaked the report," Doan said. "I did more than that," Minho replied. "I planted evidence. Falsified transactions. By tomorrow morning, the board will vote you out, all of you, and I'll be back where I belong." Yijun didn't move, didn't react. "You underestimate us. Do I? Or do you overestimate yourselves?" I felt it then, the vision slamming into me with the force of a freight train. Minho, holding a gun, not now, but soon, tonight, in this building. Someone was going to die. "We need to leave," I said, voice shaking. "Right now." Yijun glanced at me, saw my face. "What did you see?" "Nothing good," I whispered. Minho laughed. "Oh, this just got interesting." "Hajun," Yijun said quietly. "Get him out of here." "Not leaving," I said through gritted teeth. "You have a baby," Yijun snapped, and for the first time since I met him, his control cracked. "I'm not letting you stay in a room with someone who's going to pull a gun." "When?" Hajun asked me, voice deadly calm. "How long do we have?" I closed my eyes, forcing myself back into the vision. Minho, boardroom, gun. The clock on the wall behind him read 9:47 p.m. 3 hours, I whispered. Maybe less. Minho's smile faltered, just slightly. What's he talking about? You tell me, Seojin said, stepping forward. What are you planning? I don't know what kind of game you're playing, Minho said, but his voice had lost some of its edge. But it won't work. It's not a game, Doan said flatly. He sees the future, and apparently you're stupid enough to bring a weapon into this building. Minho's face went carefully blank. You're insane. Probably, I said, but I'm also right. For a moment, no one moved. Then Minho lunged, not at them, at me. Hajun was faster. He caught Minho's arm mid-swing, twisted and slammed him face first into the boardroom table. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Minjae's crying intensified. I stumbled back, clutching him to my chest. Security! Yejun barked into his phone. Boardroom! Now! Minho struggled, but Hajun had him pinned. You're making a mistake, Minho hissed. I have leverage. I have proof. You can't touch me. Actually, Seojin said, pulling out his phone and turning the screen toward Minho. We can. I couldn't see what was on the screen, but Minho's face went white. How did you... You're not the only one who can plant evidence, Seojin said coldly. Difference is, ours is real. Security flooded the room. 4 men in black suits, moving with military precision. They pulled Minho to his feet, hands already cuffed behind his back. This isn't over, Minho spat as they dragged him toward the elevator. Yes, Yejun said quietly. It is. The doors closed. Silence. Then Hajun turned to me. You okay? I nodded, even though I was shaking so hard I thought my legs might give out. You saved us, Doan said. Again. I didn't do anything, I said. I just saw... You warned us, Yejun interrupted. He stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him. You could have run. You could have stayed silent. You didn't. Yeah, well, I said, trying to smile and failing. I'm apparently terrible at self-preservation. Seojin laughed. It sounded a little unhinged. You're perfect. I'm a mess. Same thing, Hajun said. Minjae's crying had dissolved into hiccuping sobs. I bounced him gently, whispering nonsense until he quieted. We need to leave, Doan said, glancing at his watch. The board meeting is in an hour. We need to prepare. What about the leak? I asked. Contained, Seojin said. Mostly. Minho's confession will help, but we still have damage control to do. Yejun's phone rang. He answered it, listened for a moment, then hung up. Police are on their way, he said. They found the gun. In his car, loaded. My stomach turned. I wasn't wrong. You're never wrong, Doan said softly. I wish I was. Yejun's hand found my shoulder. Warm, steady. Come on, let's get you somewhere safe. I thought we established I'm terrible at safe. Then let us be safe for you. Something in my chest cracked. Not broke, just opened. Okay, I whispered. They took me to a smaller office. Private, quiet, a couch in the corner, a coffee maker, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Hajun brought me water. Seojin found a blanket. Dowan dimmed the lights without being asked. Yejun sat next to me on the couch. Close but not touching. You don't have to stay for the board meeting, he said. I know. But you want to. I looked at him, at those dark, steady eyes that had seen too much and somehow still managed to be kind. Yeah, I said, I do. He smiled, soft, real. Then you will. The board meeting was exactly as boring as I expected. A lot of men in suits talking in circles. But every time one of them tried to corner Yejun or Seojin or Dowon or Hajun, I felt that hum, that pull, and I'd lean forward and whisper what I saw. 3 moves ahead, 5, 10. By the end of the meeting, the board had voted unanimously to keep all 4 of them in their positions. Minho's shares were seized. The leak was blamed on external hackers. No one questioned it. We left the building just after midnight. Minjae was asleep in my arms. Dead weight and drooling on my shoulder. Hajun drove again, slower this time. Where do you want to go? Yejun asked from the front seat. I thought about my apartment. Cold, empty, broken. Not home, I said quietly. Then where? I met his eyes in the rearview mirror. Wherever you are. Seojin turned around in his seat, grinning. Was that a yes? To what? Moving in with us. I should have said no. Should have asked for time. Should have been smart. Instead, I said, on one condition. Name it, Yijun said. You teach me how to fight. Hajun laughed. Why? Because next time someone lunges at me, I want to be the one who breaks their nose. Deal, Hajun said. Yijun smiled. Welcome home. The words settled into my chest like they'd been waiting there all along. Hajun pulled into an underground garage beneath a building in Hanamdong. The kind of building that didn't have a sign because people who lived there didn't need one. We took an elevator that required 3 key cards. It opened directly into a penthouse that made my brain short-circuit. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River. Open-concept kitchen with marble countertops. Furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. And space. So much space I could hear my own breathing. This is insane, I whispered. This is home, Seojin corrected, already shrugging off his coat. Doan gestured down a hallway. Your room is the second door on the left. Minjae's is right next to it. Already furnished, already stocked. You can change anything you want. I stared at him. When did you? This afternoon, he admitted. After you said okay the first time. That's borderline creepy. Borderline efficient, Hajun corrected with a smirk. I walked down the hallway, heart pounding. Pushed open the second door. The room was perfect. Not over the top, not trying too hard. Just a bed with soft white sheets, a dresser, blackout curtains, and a chair by the window. Simple. Safe. Minja's room was next door. A crib that looked like it cost more than my entire apartment. A changing table. Shelves stacked with diapers, wipes, clothes in every size. A mobile hanging above the crib with soft moons and stars. I set Minjae down gently. He didn't even stir. I stood there, hands gripping the crib rail, and tried not to cry. I failed. Footsteps behind me. Quiet. Careful. Hey! Yijun's voice. Low. Warm. I didn't turn around. Couldn't. This is too much. It's not enough. You don't even know me. I'm learning. I finally looked at him. He stood in the doorway, tie loose, sleeves rolled up, looking more human than I'd seen him all day. What if I screw this up? I asked. Then we'll fix it, together. What if I see something I can't unsee? Something bad about you or them or us? Then we'll deal with it, together. He stepped closer. You keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. I get it. But we're not him. We're not leaving. You don't know that. I do. He stopped just in front of me, close enough that I could smell his scent again, frost and something sharper. Because I've been looking for you my entire life, and now that I found you, I'm not letting go. My breath hitched. That's a big promise. I don't make small ones. Before I could stop myself, I asked, the vision I saw, in the car, you kissing me. When does that happen? Yijun's mouth curved, slow, devastating. How about now? Now? Unless you'd rather wait. I should have said yes, should have been smart, should have taken it slow. Instead, I whispered, ask me. Can I kiss you? Yes. He closed the distance between us. One hand came up to cup my jaw, thumb brushing my cheek. His eyes searched mine, giving me one last chance to back out. I didn't. His lips met mine. Soft at first, tentative, like he was afraid I'd break. I wouldn't. I kissed him back, hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. He made a sound low in his throat, and the kiss deepened, turned hungry, desperate. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. That was, I started. Yeah, he agreed. The vision didn't do it justice. He laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was warm and real in mine. Come on, he said, taking my hand. The others are waiting. We walked back to the living room. Seojin, Hajun, and Doan were sprawled across the couch, looking exhausted but content. Took you long enough, Seojin said without looking up. Shut up, I said, but I was smiling. Hajun patted the space next to him. Sit, We need to talk. I sat. Yejun settled on my other side, close enough that our thighs touched. So, Doan said, setting down his tablet. Ground rules. I have rules too, I said. Good, Hajun replied. Let's hear them. I took a breath. 1. I'm not a charity case. I pay my own way, even if it takes me years. Agreed, Yejun said, but you're also not paying rent here. Non-negotiable. 2, I continued. Minji comes first. Always. If you have a problem with that, this doesn't work. We don't have a problem with that, Seojin said softly. We wouldn't want it any other way. 3, I'm not bonding anyone until I'm ready. I don't care how strong the pull is or how perfect this feels. I need time. Take all the time you need, Doan said. We're not going anywhere. I looked at all 4 of them. These impossible, ridiculous, perfect men who'd somehow become my entire world in less than 24 hours. Your turn, I said. Just one rule, Yejun said. Trust us. Not blindly, not immediately, but eventually. Can you do that? I thought about the vision I'd seen. Not the gun, not the danger. The other one. The one I hadn't told them about yet. All 5 of us, together, Minji between us, laughing, whole, happy, a family. Yeah, I whispered. I can do that. Seojin grinned. Good, because we already ordered pizza, and I'm not eating alone. You're never alone, Hajun said. Exactly my point. We stayed up until 3 in the morning, eating pizza, talking, laughing. Minji woke up once, and Doan changed him without being asked. Seojin made bottles like he'd been doing it his whole life. Hajun taught me a basic wrist escape in case anyone ever grabbed me again. And Yejun sat next to me the entire time, hand resting on my knee, thumb drawing absent circles that made my heart stutter. When I finally went to bed, I stood in the doorway of my new room and looked back. 4 men, 1 baby, 1 impossible, ridiculous, perfect family. I'd texted the wrong number, and somehow, accidentally, I'd found exactly where I was meant to be. I closed the door, and for the first time in 6 months, I slept through the night. And that's how a single wrong number changed everything. If you love this story, please hit that subscribe button. I've got more emotional, dramatic, and downright addictive stories coming your way, and trust me, you won't want to miss a single one. Comment below and let me know your favorite moment or which alpha stole your heart. Was it Yejun's quiet intensity, Hajun's protective edge, Seojin's charm, or Dawan's brilliance? Thank you so much for watching until the very end. You're the reason I keep creating these stories. Until next time, take care, and remember, sometimes the best things in life happen completely by accident. See you in the next one.